We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Well, I want to welcome everybody to tonight's Northeast Neighborhood Alliance meeting. Your president, Mike Gallagher, is not feeling so well, so your vice president, John Clamp, is filling in for Mr. Gallagher, and we hope he feels better very soon. So we'll start off with Mr. Gordon Hartman. He's going to give us an update on the Multi-Assistance Center. And Mr. Hartman, welcome, and you and Alan Castro. We appreciate your time and look forward to your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Councilman, and also Councilman Perry, thank you very much for the opportunity and the invitation. Also, I do wish Councilman Gallagher that he gets to feeling better soon. I appreciate him reaching out as well to allow us to make a presentation. And the presentation will basically consist of an opportunity to have a little history of our involvement over in the Longhorn Quarry. It's hard to believe that that started some 13 years ago. 13 years ago, when there was an idea about building this place that would be fully inclusive and ultra accessible. And it's come a long way since then. And so we wanted to talk tonight about what's going on at Morgan's Wonderland, what our plans are going forward for this year, and then talk about some other things that we're involved in and some other new projects that are coming forward very soon to the Longhorn Quarry. Morgan's Wonderland will be opening this March 5th for a regular season, but it will be somewhat limited in respect to the days open. We are taking an enormous amount of precautions due to COVID-19, and we will be open only 3 days a week with very limited capacity. And we have produced some 16 pages of protocol, which we will work under so that people can still enjoy Morgan's Wonderland, but under somewhat restricted provisions that have been set forth through the direction of people from NNA University and also the University of Michigan. We did this because we felt that we could put some protocols in place that would allow those who enter an opportunity to enjoy Morgan's Wonderland, but also understand that entering Morgan's Wonderland is at some risk because of COVID-19. That being said, there's such a great desire on the part of so many people for us to open, because so many of those with and without special needs that enjoy Morgan's Wonderland haven't had that opportunity for well over a year now, because we were only open for 11 days before we had to close because of COVID-19 back in 2020. Of course, as you all know, separate from Morgan's Wonderland, we also have Morgan's Inspiration Island, which opened 4 years ago. This will be our 5th season. It will open up in late April. Now, when you're dealing in water, of course, it's actually a safer situation because COVID cannot live in chlorinated water. And I've learned a lot about all this, but this is something that we will be able to open Morgan's Inspiration Island a couple of months later after we open up Morgan's Wonderland. Separate from those two areas that are two places that y'all are fully aware of, we have now about 3 years ago actually started an endeavor to build 3 new venues, and I'm going to talk about all 3 of them tonight. The first one is Morgan's Wonderland Sports, which has been completed, which is just on the north side of Hero Stadium parking lot. We are very proud of this 3-acre development. It will allow for those with and without special needs to play together. Basketball, volleyball, baseball, soccer, tennis, football, pickleball, many different sports. So those who may have visual impairments, may have cognitive delay, may be in a wheelchair, maybe in a walker, can play right alongside those who may have no disability at all. It's really a bringing together, again, same concept as Morgan's Wonderland, but bringing in all types of different sports. And it fits in well with our STRAPS program, which is very much involved with working with our veterans here in San Antonio. So we're very proud of that we were able to finish this new venue. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has kind of changed our plans as to the opening of it. We had planned at one time to open at the end of last year. That had to be canceled. We had planned to open it in March of this year. And now we have postponed that again to May based on the current situations that exist under COVID-19. But I can tell you, when it is fully open, it will be a great place for so many people to enjoy. And I appreciate very much the councilman coming out and enjoying us, having some time, good time with us out there with Joy and all the mayor and others, as you can see at our ribbon cutting that occurred about 4 months ago. Separate from that, we have also started construction and did about a year ago on Morgan's Wonderland Camp. Morgan's Wonderland Camp is a 102-acre camp located 2 miles east of Bulverde Road on Evans Road. It is a incredible facility that is about 85% complete and will be fully complete by the end of March of this year. Of the 102 acres, there's a 30,000 square foot event center that can hold up to 700 individuals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's because the camp itself will have a total between those who work at the camp along with campers themselves of some 619 beds. So this will be one of the largest camps in the country. But more importantly, it will again be ultra accessible, fully inclusive, all ages. Many times when you pick up the phone and call different camps, they're very limited. We will only take people from this age to this age. Or if a person has this particular need, I'm sorry, we can't accommodate them. At Morgan's Wonderland Camp, we will accommodate everybody, no matter how acute their special need may be. They will be able to enjoy activities, along with many times numerous camps going on at any one particular time. So we're very proud of the fact that this is coming on board. Again, the opening for Morgan's Wonderland Camp will be dependent upon COVID-19 again. But we anticipate, our hope is that sometime during the summer, we can actually start to bring people into the camp on a very restricted basis. I will say that some of the unique things about the camp is, of course, I mentioned the large facility that we will have as a area for people to eat, but also the kitchen there is also going to be run by the San Antonio Food Bank. There's a 4,000 square foot kitchen that was designed with their help. And not only will they help feed campers and workers at the camp, but they will also be involved in making meals for others who may have needs for additional assistance in this particular area. As you know, the food bank has an area in New Braunfels and 2 in southern part of San Antonio. So this now will give them a north side presence. And so we are leasing them the facility for $1 a year, which we think is a pretty fair rent to allow them an opportunity to come and be a part of the camp. We will also have a gymnasium, an arts facility, a library, a photographic area, 5 different types of pool activities, a bike facility with many different types of bikes and almost a 1 mile bike lane, some 20 cabins that can sleep about 515 people. We will have a stable that will hold up to 10 horses, and we'll have a total of 20 horses at the camp. We'll have a nature area of all types of different animals. We will have a horse arena. We will have a building that the EAA, Edwards Aquifer Authority, has built that will allow for people to experience what it's like to be in the aquifer, if you will, and be able to learn more about the aquifer at the camp itself. And then 2 things in particular that are the first in the world is we will have a challenge course that will allow anyone who is in a wheelchair to enjoy activities right next to someone who may not be in a wheelchair and be fully able, 22 feet above the ground. This has never been done before. The gentleman who did it for us has been building facilities like this for some 30 years and never been asked to do anything that would make sure that it would accommodate 100% of the population, not just a certain percent of the population. In addition, we will have the opportunity for a zip line where people can zip line from 11 stories high. And even if they are in a wheelchair, they will be able to have the opportunity to zip line if they're on oxygen or if they have other needs, physical needs. We will be able to accommodate them to be able to do something they never thought they could do before. So we're very proud of that. But that Morgan's Wonderland Morgan's Inspiration Island, the sports facility, and the camp are all exciting new projects. But the one I'm going to talk to you about now is right in the middle of Longhorn Quarry, and that is the MAC. The MAC stands for the Multi-Assistance Center at Morgan's Wonderland. And what that consists of is an opportunity to really help people who have special needs under one roof. The MAC, the Multi-Assistance Center, will consist of 165,000 square feet and will begin construction just a week from today on February 1st. This has been the bringing together of about 3 years of work. Our first meeting on this was held at Morgan's Wonderland in February 3 years ago. So next month, it will have been from the first time there was any discussion about the opportunity of bringing everyone into one place and allowing, through the use of navigators, an opportunity for those with special needs and their families to be able to have assistance in the area of medical, therapeutic, and social determinants of health. Right now, many individuals with special needs are not able to get through the system. They're not able to understand the processes or work through the system of making sure that different things that are available to them, they are able to go out and find and get and maneuver to be able to get the proper insurance, to get the funds that are necessary through other opportunities to be able to ensure that they get everything that they need to be able to live the life that they deserve. The hope is that not the hope, but we know what will occur from the outcomes of the Multi-Assistance Center is that some 10,000 people by the year 2024 will be using the facility in an effort to be able to get all these services either on site or through partners of the Multi-Assistance Center. So it is an endeavor, a very aggressive endeavor. And it was brought about because of the fact that personally, I recognize that my daughter is one of the lucky ones. She is someone who has access to doctors, the speech therapist, the physical therapist, and she has many of the other things that many times we take for granted to be able to accommodate what her needs are. But this would not have been possible if a lot of the people who are on the screen right now had not come together and make it possible. Because when we started this 3 years ago, we were just talking about an idea. But so many people between Communicare, ACOG, and the Kronkowski Foundation, and Harvey Najum, and so many other people have given in a major way to be able to make this all possible. And I have to give a large amount of thank you to each of them for that opportunity. What you're looking at now is a night view of what the MAC will look like when it is completed. Completion is scheduled for April of next year. So we're looking at about a 14 to 15 month construction period. That is a view looking from the across the street over to the MAC on Thousand Oaks. Again, you can see it is going to be a very prominent view or look at that particular site. This would be looking at the MAC if you were at Wurzbach Parkway, looking north. And then I believe there's one more. And then this slide here will show you exactly how the first of two MACs will actually sit at this location. You will notice where this 165,000 square feet will sit. Just north of there, you'll see another green area. And that area there will be for a second MAC. But let's start off with just the first one first. Let's get that one right. Let's make sure we have all the systems in place. But the desire is ultimately to expand this. The reason for that is earlier you saw some statistics in respect to the number of people in this community who have special needs. It's well in excess of over 280,000 people just in Bexar County who have some form of special need. So even when we open this and when we are fully engaged in helping on a daily basis through navigational process of making sure people get what they need to be able to assist them in their daily needs because of their special need, we will only unfortunately be assisting about 5% of the people who are in need. So this is the beginning of something that we feel is much, much bigger. I'd like to now show you the timeline that we have been working with. As I mentioned, in 2018, we started this process just 3 short years ago. In 2019, we brought partners together to see where the interest was. In 2020, we began to lay out the architectural designs for what you just saw, and also finalizing all the different work that was required with the partners. And here we are in 2021, in February, to begin actual construction, so that in 2022, many of the partners will begin occupying the MAC. And then in 2023 and 2024, we will actually fully occupy the entire 165,000 square feet. As I mentioned, a lot of people have made this possible, and the name that's just popped up there is Alan Castro. Alan has been involved in this since very early. He got involved just after a couple months after that February meeting that I mentioned back in 2018. And so I'd like to ask, Alan is with us tonight. I'd like for him to add some additional comments to mine about this really big and important and game-changing opportunity that we have to assist our friends with special needs right there in the Longhorn Quarry. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Castro.
Thank you, Gordon. I'll just be brief. The only thing I will add is that what the MAC care model that we're building together is intended to do is to be a one-stop shop for individuals with special needs of all ages, not just pediatric, to come to a place where they can receive most of the services that they require, but most importantly, so they can be assigned navigational resources so they can go about and identify the services that they need, and also be tracked by your navigation partner to ensure that you are fully aware of all of the resources available to you. You're fully aware of all the resources you need to manage your special need and to provide guidance and support, not just to the individual with special needs we will serve, but to the rest of the family. We're focusing our care model on social determinants of health. Studies show that social and behavioral factors affect one's health. Up to 70% of your health is determined by these factors. So we built a care model focused on those factors, and we're building a medical, a therapy, and a social support system around that care model. So we're very excited. And anything that you may want to know about the MAC, just contact me or go to our website at morganswonderlandmac.com. So Gordon, back to you, or I don't know if we open it up for questions.
Well, thank you very much, Alan. Councilman Clamp or Councilman Perry, we'd be happy to answer any questions if you wish for us to, of anybody who has any questions about the MAC. This is something we're very excited about and very appreciative that y'all given us an opportunity tonight to talk about it, because it is definitely going to be a major addition to the Longhorn area, to the quarry area, to what we've already done there, but in a whole new way of being able to assist our friends with special needs.
For sure that the Northeast Neighborhood Alliance will have you out again next year when we can hopefully meet in person and have some really good questions from the audience. So we appreciate it. Thank you both.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have up Dr. Junda Wu with the City of San Antonio. She's going to talk about the COVID vaccine distribution. And so with that, I'm going to, I think it's Dr. Wu, I'm not positive.
Dr. Keeling is also on the line, and she's actually the incident commander for this. So if she's available, then I'd love her to go first. If she's not, then I can fill in. Okay, your call.
All right, I'm on, so I can start. I was finding a quiet place. We're both at the Alamo Dome, and we'll be here till 8 p.m. tonight. So real briefly, I can start, and then I can open it up for Q&A. I think that'll be better. So, as many of you are already aware, we started these operations. We are one of the 3 mass vaccination hubs here in San Antonio. And this vaccination hub at Alamo Dome is manned jointly by Metro Health and SAFD. We started the operations here at the Alamo Dome the week of January the 11th. And it's by appointment only. We are currently serving phase 1A and phase 1B. The operational hours, or the first appointment, I should say, starts at 9 a.m. in the morning until 6:30 p.m. And last is at 6:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday operations. We have a registration portal, which is up on our website. We also, to address the digital divide, we also have registration through 311 and through our community health workers who hit the pavement and collect the information and this is mainly for folks who don't have access to internet or cannot, type in fast enough to get in through the registration portal when the slots open. The slots are open every day by 2 p.m., Monday through Saturday. To date, we have received about 28,850 doses of vaccines. We've administered 21,246 doses. We pretty much even out the doses received and doses administered by the end of the week, which is Saturday for us. So I'll stop here and see if anybody has any questions. And Dr. Wood, if you want to chime in, this was just a brief introduction to the operations here. This is week 3 of our operations now.
Well, thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Wu.
Thank you. I think that really covers all the big points, and some of the common questions that we hear asked have to do with the frustration around there not being enough slots, and that's a national problem. We are obliged to cover all of 1A and 1B, and that is 1 million people. So right now in Bexar County as a whole, we've vaccinated, I believe, at least 100,000, which is about 5% of our population. We'll need to get to somewhere between 70 to 90% to all enjoy that level of herd immunity. And I know it's frustrating, and we just ask people to be patient while more vaccine rolls out and the manufacturers ramp up.
Very good. Dr. Wu, what's the best phone number to call for information or website address, if you have it?
So that is at covid19.sanantonio.gov. You will see a button that says vaccine. So that's the way to register online, or by phone, call 311, and it's option 8. I see a question. Do you know when the next batch of doses are coming in? So typically, toward the end of the week. I don't know if you want to be more specific than that, Anita. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say we get our allocations from the state, and there has not been a set cadence to this. We will know sometime later by Thursday. The expert vaccine allocation panel in Austin meet on Friday morning, and that's when they decide the allocations for the next week. So it's sometime after their Friday morning meeting is when we get notified, we meaning all local jurisdictions across the state of Texas get notified as to how much they might receive and when they might receive. So it's very difficult to say, and that has changed from week to week to week. So very difficult.
And there's a great question about what is 1A and 1B. 1A is healthcare workers and last responders, and that's all healthcare workers. So not just the people in the hospitals who are largely vaccinated, at least by 1 dose by now, but also outpatient, people who work in home health care, people who work in urgent care centers, pharmacists, dentists. So we're still trying to vaccinate thousands or tens of thousands of 1A. Also long-term care facilities, both residents and staff. And the last time I looked, I think about 2/3 as of last week of the facilities that had registered, which is most facilities with the national program, have gotten at least 1 dose. So progress is being made there. 1B is people who are 65 or older, or are 16 or older and have a medical condition that would make you more sick if you got COVID. So chronic heart disease, chronic lung disease, diabetes, obesity. This is a little confusing because the CDC definition includes essential workers. And in the state of Texas, we're including only essential workers who have those qualifying conditions or who are 65 or older. Why wasn't the north side included in a mass distribution site? So we are limited in the number of mass distribution sites, and if for us in public health, we are obliged to look to where COVID is affecting our communities the most. However, I would say that university is, well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on relatively how north you want to go, but that Wonderland site, and then Wellness 360, which is University Medical Associates outpatient clinics. That is relatively north. That's and then, of course, as more vaccine becomes available, then there can be more. How can everyday neighbors assist or volunteer in the vaccination effort? So for volunteer coordination,
you can,
for the medical, go ahead.
for the everyday neighbor who wants to volunteer, you can email COVID volunteers at sanantonio.gov, and our volunteer coordinators will reach out and help them sign up for a shift and complete their onboarding process for this volunteering. So once again, that email, we'll put it up in the chat. It's COVID volunteers at sanantonio.gov. What else is there?
One more question up there too.
Okay, let's see. It says there's that address. It says I have friends and family registering via University Health to receive vaccinations, but they don't fall under 1A or 1B. When they get to the site to be tested, will they be rejected? For us here at the Alamo Dome, yes. I cannot speak for what University Health is doing, but that is our promise to the state, that if they give us vaccine, we will follow these guidelines. And I think it's also our promise to the public that has an interest in fairness and transparency.
Fantastic. Councilman Perry, you have any other questions?
I just sent one in.
Okay.
Let's see, what did I say?
Will WellMed continue to get vaccines? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, like I said, we know from week to week. We cannot say well in advance, but it's at least this week they did not get the allocations. We continue to keep it. So it's very difficult for me to, because of these uncertainties. There are a lot of moving parts, allocations from the state, what decisions are being made. It's very difficult to say that they will continue to get vaccines, or even will continue to get vaccines. So.
Okay, there's been talk also about CVS and the different drugstores along with HEB that would be or have gotten the vaccine or will be distributing those. Is that going to happen anytime soon, or where is that at?
Again, these are not local decisions, right? These are made by the state. So I can tell you at the onset of the vaccine rollout, the state model was that every provider who meets the qualification can sign up to be a COVID-19 vaccine providers, and they will be allocated vaccines. So that's how the rollout began. Sometime late December is when they realized that model is not working out for the state of Texas. They switched it around and said, now let's have maximum number of vaccines received, number of vaccines given to sites that can provide mass vaccinations. And so the model changed midway, and that's how these mass vaccination sites came to be. And in Metro Health, we were notified on a Thursday that
Oh, Anita. Well, Anita, I think we lost you.
Dr. Wu, do you want to close it out?
Yeah, what she was saying is that we receive very little advance notice. We will receive notice maybe a day or two beforehand of how many we'll get, when we'll get it, what brand it is, and which makes it very challenging to plan ahead. I hope that it will be more national coordination around this. And HEB, we have been advocating for HEB as well as independent pharmacies to receive allocations They have not. I mean, HEB did get some, but they got 100 for the stores that were signed up, and then went through it like that, and then they haven't gotten allocation since then. Anita's back.
Yeah, sorry, I moved to a quieter place, but my laptop ran out of juice. So the dilemma of working at this place. Yeah, so I think I heard the tail end of what Dr. Wu was saying. So when the model changed, then all the other, we had over 600 providers signed up to be COVID-19 vaccine providers. So once the model changed, states started allocating 80% of the state of Texas allocations to the mass vaccination sites and 20% to these individual providers. And so to answer your question, Councilman, will HEB and CVS get vaccines? Yes, but it may not be in the number of doses or that they like it to be, right? It'll be slightly smaller than what's going to the mass vaccination sites. And you can talk to folks at HEB. I mean, they were getting, we have we have several HEB locations signed up to be COVID-19 vaccine providers. And I think for weeks, they were getting 100 doses a week per site, which is a drop in a bucket for them, So again, all that state decisions.
So just one last question, and we'll wrap this section up. Is there any discussion about just giving everyone one shot to get more people at least the one shot, and then do the booster when it becomes available?
So we have to follow the CDC guidance. The CDC hasn't come out and said that just yet, but you've seen these discussions in the media. We are seeing it behind the scenes as well. But until the official word comes down from CDC, our protocol is to follow those 2-dose regimens.
CDC. Okay. Dr. Wu, anything else?
No, I realized that I was posting in the chat, but somehow I was only chatting with Anita. So I was putting in some of my other, I started to cut and paste that. I don't think there's anything else. We're not trying to hog all of the meeting, but we definitely appreciate the chance to come and answer questions.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Number of seniors registered, many who do not have anyone to assist. Is there a way the senior center's personnel can assist these people? That is also on the eventual list. Yeah.
What to do? Yeah.
We definitely have an interest in the homebound, in people who don't have good digital access, or just aren't have access but would rather call. And yes, these are all issues that we're aware of.
Well, thank you both. I know y'all are doing a lot of hard work with the city and the Alamo Dome and getting these vaccinations out. I know it's probably a bit hectic, to say the least, and I know you're doing the best for the city and our citizens, so we thank you very much. And I just want to remind everybody, if anybody has a question, go to covid19@sanantonio.gov and ask any questions or find any answers on that website, and probably make a phone call or two if you need to. So we'll probably have them out again as soon as things get further along as well. So thank you both for your time and for what you do for the city of San Antonio.
Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, up next we have Saeed Mehdi with the San Antonio Airport Strategic Plan Update. So we'll have Saeed go ahead and start his presentation as well.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you, everyone, and good evening. I would, Raul, if you could bring up the presentation, please, for a moment. Or John, if you could, then I'll pass on the presentation to you.
John, you should have access now, so you should be good to go.
Would you like me to share my screen? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
So whilst John is bringing up the presentation, I'd like to thank everyone for sitting through this presentation. The purpose for the presentation today is a preview to an event we have on the 9th of February at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. in English.
Great. Thank you, Syed. Can you all see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm John Van Woensel with WSP. I'm the consultant team project manager on the SDP, so the Strategic Development Plan. We like to use acronyms. We'll come back to this information in case people don't have a chance to write it down fast enough. So you'll see it again here in a moment. We have about a 10-minute overview here. As Syed said, we'll have more information in some of the upcoming meetings, but respecting your 10-minute time slot tonight, we have an overview. When we talk about the SDP, we have to go back to 2018 when we started all this, and we started not with the plan for the airport, but we started to answer the question, does it fit? Does it fit at this site? There had been a lot of debate in the community about whether this site could accommodate growth adequately or whether a new site was needed altogether, a new airport. So back in 2018, we studied this, and this is actually a slide we used at the open house later in the year where we rolled out our findings. And what we did for that exercise is, so if you want to answer this question, you can't just look at it near term, you have to look long term, you have to look at strong demand, you have to kind of exaggerate everything. And if you can accommodate all the exaggerated needs, then you know you're good at this location. So that's what this is here on this slide. We really exaggerated demand, assumed some sort of widely spaced parallel, potentially as a worst case, massive terminal expansion for 50 years, a high growth forecast. And this is one, as I said, one of the slides we used to show that it would fit with potentially some acquisition of property. So this was presented to various open houses and groups like we're doing tonight, and approved late in the year. Then in 2019, we switched gears to phase 2 of the plan. And this we got going in the middle of 2019. And now we were focusing on San Antonio. Now that we know that it fits at the international airport, how does it fit? What do you actually need? Not as exaggerated demand, but as more likely demand. What should you be ready for in, say, a 20-year time frame? And so that became the focus of the planning effort. Now, COVID's kind of delayed us a little bit. We would have been done about now. But when you look at an airport, the first thing you do is look at the future of the airfield. It takes up the most space. It has airspace associated with it. It's all safety related. So you start with the airfield, then you work your way to the other facilities. And so here is some of the key needs that we knew we had to address in the airfield. They're in the top boxes here. So on the left, safety. I mean, it's paramount at any airport anywhere in the world. It's key to the airport as well as FAA. And FAA is always changing the standards and the way things are operated to increase safety, similar to how the highway design standards are always updated and improved for enhanced safety. And so you'll see in a minute on an aerial, there's a hotspot situation that could be enhanced. So the airport has a great record in terms of safety, but there's always room to improve and further enhance safety. And that's what you'll see in a moment. Growth also means that over time, likely more international locations may happen. Now, if they don't happen, obviously you don't build a longer runway, but if they do happen, you need to be ready. And so as a planning exercise, we looked at what kind of runway length could that be? What kind of destinations are we talking about? The third one here is long-term projected growth. Eventually, aircraft activity will increase to the point that the current runway system may first need optimization to just make it more efficient, but ultimately you might need parallel runway. We're finding this is so far in the future that you won't see it tonight. on the 20-year plan, but it's something we studied. So rather than talk about numbers, let's look at an aerial here. This is the existing airport. Excuse me, I skipped over my existing airport slide there. Sorry, well, let's just go right to this one. This is the sort of near-term time frame. You see the existing runway is currently at 8,500 feet. This is runway 422 to crosswind, and this is the smaller general aviation runway. Situation we have today, what I mentioned was a hotspot, is that sometimes aircraft pilots will get confused in this area and they'll drive onto the runway inadvertently. There's never been an accident. It doesn't happen very often, but you don't want that to happen. So we've been working on how do we solve that and do it in a way that is efficient and implementable. And so what we've come up with tentatively, and it says, this all needs to be approved later, but FAA is on board with the thinking here, is that you do a small runway extension to get this threshold of this runway off the other runway. Right now, the one ends on top of the other one, and it sometimes causes confusion. So by extending the one runway a little bit, keeping the landing point the same, but moving the departure point and the pavement about 340 feet, it works well with the taxiway distance here. You see the taxiway, if you can see my cursor, okay. And that would solve that safety issue. It would also extend the runway by a few hundred feet. So that's one of the projects that we'll be continuing to study, and that is part of the airfield plan to date. And if we look longer term, I mentioned growth. If further international destinations become part of the future demand, we're thinking Europe, deeper Latin America, in addition to your already excellent Mexican service. At some point, some of those aircraft flying longer distances, perhaps some might be larger aircraft as well. You need, at some point, you need a little bit more runway length to make that a viable operation for the airline. So when that demand becomes something that needs to be accommodated, we need to plan for it. And so that's what we've done here. We've looked at runway length requirements for different aircraft. What you see here is an extension, and this is, of course, the total of this area we looked at down here of 300 feet, and then the rest here staying on airport. You can get about 10,000 feet on the runway. And we did a lot of analysis looking at aircraft, and on this chart, it's kind of a summary. The two lines at the top here, and anytime you project to Earth, which is of course round on a flat sheet of paper, things get distorted. That's why these lines make a strange wave. But this is an equidistant line. The red and the green you can see here is two common aircraft used for international service off the existing runway. And you can see you can already reach a lot off the existing runway depending on the aircraft model. But if airlines wanted to routinely go a little bit farther, perhaps to southern Latin America or farther into Europe, you can see that a 10,000-foot runway extension makes that possible. Extension to 10,000 feet, excuse me, would make that possible. So that is a length that works really well, and it can stay on the airport property, and it makes a lot of sense to look at that. And again, this is just planning exercise. So we're talking about providing options for the future and reserving land use, not about starting construction on an extension tomorrow. That couldn't even happen. So here's the existing airfield. Something went wrong with PowerPoint there. Let's talk about the next steps. Now that we have the airfields pretty much figured out, we need to look at the terminal next. We're looking at a host of options, a little bit more in a moment about what we're looking at. There's some upcoming meetings and opportunities for input here, as Sayed mentioned earlier, and we'll show you this again in a minute, so I'll skip over it now. We'll stop on it at the end. We're also going to look at roadway access improvements. We're going to adjust for COVID. We know that COVID has changed aviation. We just don't know yet how for the long term, especially. Near term, it's a little easier to guess, but long term, we just don't know yet. But in a few months, we're going to put our heads together and see what kind of adjustments we need to make to the existing forecast, which was approved by FAA. We may need to make a few changes and adjust things. Until then, we may be overestimating perhaps, but it's always good to kind of overestimate rather than underestimate and find yourself behind the curve. So we'll have answers for you in the future on what exactly COVID has meant for the long term. And then we're going to complete the plan here with some steps that include looking at okay, how do you pay for all this? What are the logical phases to implement these things? What are the first projects that might be needed? And then get FAA approval. Further steps and approvals are needed after that. This is just a planning exercise. Further approvals, of course, are required before projects happen. I mentioned some of the steps here. This puts them on a timeline, which shows you kind of the terminal plan, the land side, cargo, support, tenants are all happening here. We'll look at funding, implementation, strategy, project phasing and sequencing. And then you'll see here, there's a March Council B session Syed mentioned. There is the city's annual CIP, capital improvement program process, transportation committee briefings, city council, and more public workshops toward the end of the plan in the August, September timeframe. So that's when we have the whole plan put together for a review, and we'll come back to report on that. And I mentioned terminal being next, so let me talk briefly about what we're doing there. So we've looked at the technical requirements, what do the airlines need, how many gates are needed, things like that. But we also did several surveys, and we got just an enormous participation of over 3,600 people, 700 and something, some of whom bothered to actually write down comments as well, which is wonderful. People took the time to write out their comments that were, in this case, relevant to the terminal area. Some of the topics, as you can expect, better food. You know, we like the experience to be upped a little bit. We'd like more gates. We'll show more of this, but the point here is that we got input already from people on what they want out of the terminal, and we're looking at all this together right now and are coming up with terminal options. And again, that'll be part of what you will see in the future. So with that, I promised I'd come back to this information. So here it is again. It's the beginning, throughout, and here at the end, it'll stop on it. There's a couple of meetings coming up. You can see the website there for more information, including all these documents I mentioned from 2018, open house, PowerPoint, all that's up there. If someone would like to email a question, they can do that at any time, of course, to that email. And also, if someone doesn't have computer access or would like to leave a phone call or ask a question by voicemail, they can do that to that phone number as well. So we're trying to make sure anybody can get the information and access it through whatever channel works for them. So that's the summary we had for you tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. There's one question. We've been asked by members of the community, what is being done to ensure that the airport will be operational and open 24/7? Can either you or Saeed address that?
I will take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our airport is open 24 hours, 365 days a year. It depends on the service. So until COVID or pre-COVID, we used to have flights coming in from Dallas and other places well past midnight as arrivals. And depending on what sort of departures we have, we coordinate with our federal partners, that being TSA and everyone else, to keep the security lanes open. And again, it depends on how early a flight is scheduled for. Depending on that, then again, our federal partners open up the security checkpoints. So it's all dependent on demand and our facilities open. For instance, during holiday block leave, when the military was leaving, Councilman Perry has been to our airport many a times, and TSA cooperates. They open the checkpoints at 3 o'clock instead of 3:30, 3:45. So it really depends on what time the flight's coming in, what time the flight's departing.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you both for that presentation. We look forward to the February 9th presentation or the February 11th presentation as well. And if any of our members have any questions, please give them a call at 207-3403 or email them at satfuture@sanantonio.gov. Well, Councilman Perry, you have our last 10 minutes, so you're up, and welcome back to 2021.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year, everybody. This is a wild and exciting time. You know, a lot of expectations that come on. 2020 is over with. 2021 is a brand new year and it's going to be totally different. Well, I think everybody has seen that it hasn't been any difference. We're still operating under a lot of the same rules and ordinances and edicts and that kind of thing that have come down from not only the federal level, but the state and the county and the city as well. So when this is going to let up, I don't think anybody knows, but we're trying to get these vaccines out as quickly as possible as soon as we get them. We've had so many emails and comments and Facebook posts, and we keep trying to emphasize the distribution points where our hands are tied on that as far as the city getting our allotment. It has to be done through a central location, and they did that down at the Alamo Dome. I know it's inconvenient for folks to travel down there, but we've been working really hard to work with WellMed to see about opening up a Northeast place up here. And we're still working that issue. But again, it just depends on the delivery of the vaccines. And I asked a couple of questions there that were a lot of the questions that we've been getting. People feeling ignored up here on the north side and northeast side, and why'd they get one on the south and the west side? Well, again, you heard Dr. Wu and Anita Curian say that they looked at where the hardest hit communities were to open up the few other vaccines that they had in those areas. So that's the criteria that they used. And it's hard to say, hey, we need those vaccines up here on the north side when the south side and west side have been hit so much more with difficulty. So just hang tight. We're working to get a place up here on the northeast side. Don't overlook an opportunity to get the shot down at the Alamo Dome or any of these other places. Please register on those, and remember that it's not just for those areas. You can go anywhere in this city and get a vaccine. It's not restricted to those locations or those areas. So if you want to go down to the south side or west side or Alamo Dome, you've got just as much access to that vaccine as anybody else does in those areas. So I just wanted to point that out again. There's little to no control in council districts. Right now, there's 7 council districts that have no distribution point in them. And we're all eagerly lining up to get that whenever that happens. And if you're running into problems, sure, give my office a call, but I want to stress to use those email addresses that they already passed along to us tonight, 311, and give them a call if you're having issues with that. But if you can't get through those, let me know in the office and we'll see what we can do to help out. HOA meetings. I know they're still going on out there, either through WebEx or I've attended several that's been outside where people are like in a park or at an outdoor pizza place, that kind of thing. I am always available for those. So if you have one coming up, please let us know and I'll get it on my calendar and I'll get out there and talk with y'all individually, because to me, that's where the rubber meets the road, is out there with the HOAs and neighborhood associations to talk face to face and go over a lot of these issues with everybody. Wanted to just talk a little bit about Comanche Lookout. I would say raise your hand if you've been there, but I couldn't see you anyway. So if you haven't had a chance, go out there and go up to the top of Comanche Lookout. We just completed a really nice art project from up there. And did y'all know that Comanche Lookout is the highest peak here in San Antonio? Now, I claim that. They say it's the highest peak in Bexar County, but in San Antonio, I'm saying Comanche Lookout is the highest point. So go up there along that trail. We just did a lot of work up there on improving the trail system and a playground, covered playgrounds for younger kids. And it's really a beautiful walk up there. You know, we just had our tricentennial here a couple years ago. And I like to point out that going up that hill, they found artifacts 10,000 years old up there. So that is one of those prominent places that's been used for over 10,000 years. So go up there and explore, and the views of all of downtown and the surrounding area is magnificent. It's beautiful, and that artwork is there for you to go out and enjoy, sit down on those benches and just look at what we have here in San Antonio. We do have a lot to be thankful for, and when you look at that, it really, really makes you feel good that you live here in San Antonio. And look at that weather we had today. Man, I tell you what, that's why I live here in San Antonio, Texas, to have 75 degrees out here in the middle of wintertime. It's just awesome. I love it. But yeah, those were the things that I wanted to mention. Oh, I did want to mention we're going to have a candidate forum. NNA is going to host a candidate forum in April. So everybody get ready for that. May is the election for all of City Council and the mayor, and there's going to be a ballot proposition out there also, and it's going to be a very controversial one. I just urge everybody to listen and learn before you make a decision whether you vote for or against that ballot initiative. It's like I said, it's going to be very controversial, and you're going to hear all kind of stories out there about it. But read up on it. I can tell you League of Women Voters does a very good job in summarizing issues and making sure the right information is getting out there to folks. And we'll certainly be available and talk about that between now and May also, about what this ballot initiative really means, and maybe even have, I don't know, guest speakers to that effect as well. So wild season, you thought we just got, well, we just got through with an election process in November, but it's starting all over again for May. And I'm excited about it. Got a lot of good candidates across the entire city. Just do your research and vote for who you feel will best represent you. And that's what's important. So with that, I really didn't have anything else unless there's any questions for me. I didn't check the chat box.
I think you're good, Councilman. I think no questions so far. I'm sure you'll get a phone call or two at your office. But thank you so much for maintaining your office and doing all these virtual meetings and keeping in touch as best as possible under these trying times. The staff has done a fantastic job. You should be very proud of them. So just like we are. So thank you very much.
There are a couple of questions, Councilman.
Yeah,
one was can we get a construction schedule for the trail rehab at Comanche Lookout? And Mike, we will get that for you. And the other, Councilman, somebody's asking if you're running again.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm looking forward to it. I made the decision to stay on and run again, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And there's going to be other candidates out there also. So again, study up on everybody, make sure you understand where they're coming from and what their long range plans are, that kind of thing for District 10. I don't want to get on my soapbox in this venue here. I take up all Councilman Clamp's time, but
no, I'm good.
Anytime you have a question for me, please give me a call. I'll be happy to talk with you.
Appreciate it, Councilman. We really do. Raul and Paul, thank you very much. Saeed. Just a couple announcements and then we're done for tonight. The District 10 meeting is February 22nd at 6 p.m. if that's correct. It looks like it is. And then our next NNA meeting is March 15th. And we look forward to holding that again. Hopefully we can maybe meet soon. Yes, Paul.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Councilman Plant. We're actually going to do February and March, and y'all are going to do April. Y'all are going to host the April is going to be your candidate forum. So we're going to do February and March in D10.
Okay, fantastic. So it looks like the District 10 office will do February and March, and then the candidate forum will be in April, hosted by the NNA with Mike Gallagher and myself and others. So with that, I want to thank everybody for this evening. Thank you, Council Office. Saeed and Mr. Hartman, Dr. Wu, Anita, everybody, thank you for a fantastic job. went very smoothly tonight, and I think Mike will be very proud that it did so. Y'all have a great evening, and be safe out there.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye-bye.